I think that understanding that your story doesn't start with slavery is important, because I feel like that's something that any person from the African diaspora can relate to if they're raised in a Western affected country. Well, every country's Western affected, but specifically like the United States, the Caribbean, South America, etc. You read that that's where your story starts, right? Your story starts with slavery, and then it goes up to the modern day, and that gives you a very specific sense of where you think your people came from. And not only you, and this is why it affects non-Black people as well, if your education on Black history says Black people's story starts with slavery, then that will affect how they see Black people as well. And so I think it's really important, especially for Black people, though I'd say for everyone, to understand that that isn't true, that there is a very rich and complex history of where Black civilization comes from. Every European, regardless of their specific ethnicity, knows about ancient Greece and ancient Rome. I think it's important for Black people to know things about the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, the Zulu kingdoms, etc., etc. And I think that if you have these sorts of understandings of the great things that these civilizations have accomplished, then you would understand that not only do your people come from somewhere just like everyone else, it's not like a void, that you would have a sense of pride in where you come from, like people should have. That role models are incredibly important. I think that that is something that can be difficult. I think that if you feel as though you can't relate on a personal level to your educators or immediate role models in that sense, besides like your parents, for example, then you might not be able to closely associate enough in a way in which you could open up about how you are potentially wondering about these things. You might just feel as though it is your duty to assimilate to your role models or your peers, and thus asking these questions would be going out of line of those things. And so having role models, regardless of what background they are, explain that it is not only normal, but encourage that it's important to ask these sorts of things and understand these sorts of things would be a great addition to this sort of difficult task that young people have to go through. Or even if they aren't Black, just making it clear that it's important to know about your history as a Black person. But if you can directly relate, in a sense, and I definitely think that there is a unmatchable quality in terms of being able to directly relate to someone like that. So I think minorities having role models they can directly relate to on a racial level can also be very helpful for them. But in terms of what that leads them to create or leads them to understand, I think what that is understanding a sense of belonging in a historical sense, not that you just appeared on the timeline somewhere without prior explanation, unlike all the people that you read about, but a sense of cosmic belonging almost.